actually. Like I was saying before, he just got off the plane, actually coming back from Orlando, and had some thoughts here. I'll go ahead and cover these right here. This tweet going real viral right here. What was that? Broke 4 times and had like too much, quote, dead space at some key spots. Mama Odie's animatronic broke during the very last scene, and her mouth moved and her body didn't. It was creepy. Too many screens. Tiana deserves so much better. That's right, folks. Tiana's still having problems to this day, and it's also expanding out west. But we'll get to that part of the story in just a moment. Nolan, your thoughts on Tiana's Bayou adventure?
First thing I'd like to say is that's the sexiest man I've ever seen in my life, first off. Second off, he probably takes rides way too seriously is the second thing. But no, let me give you a little play-by-play here. So it broke down, I believe, 4 times, if I remember. Sorry, it was a busy weekend, but I'm recollecting to the best that I can. So we get on the ride and just already kind of we managed to somehow score a virtual queue after having a downpour happen. We were looking for Winnie the Pooh and we ended up on this, and I was like, okay, let's give this a try. So trying to be fair with it, trying the best I can to, you know, look at the positives. I just don't want to go on and be a negative Nancy. And I felt really bad for some of the kids in front of me because I was ranting a lot on this ride with my mother. And I'm like, man, I don't want to take out the magic of it. But oh my gosh, when it breaks down so often, it's kind of hard to not complain. So we start out, we get up on the queue, and I am used to, you know, the Cedar Fair parks of the Midwest where you're about to go on that ride and you're like patting you down all over to make sure you're buckled in, you're strapped, you ain't going nowhere. And so I was kind of neglecting that. Sorry, I'm on like 3 hours of sleep right now. We were going up the chain lift thing and the ride stops. And then we're like, well, why is it stopped? And there was a woman who had brought out her phone on the ride. And it's like, oh, that's definitely what it is. You know, there was one time where we were at Cedar Point and a guy completely chewed out this 16-year-old girl and talked about how people could die from it. I felt bad for the girl and I wasn't even the one getting yelled at. But they take ride safety very seriously. So then I realized, and I felt really, really dumb here. They come to our car because, you know, Disney has so many different kinds of ride vehicles. Our lap bars weren't pulled down and no one pushed them down to make sure.
Goodness.
I am not going to blame the cast members. I will take blame on that. But the weird thing was after it came down, it stayed stop. Like usually I've been on several rides. This happens in theme parks, especially at the Cedar Fair parks. Rides will stop. It happens at your local fair. But usually, you know, it's shut it off. Okay, back up. It takes only a second and it's going. We were still waiting a hot minute on that lift. And it's like, okay, why is this taking so long? So we go up back. So finally we start going up the hill and we're presented with a very boring, very confusing plot. And I know that theme park rides should be like a love letter to their fans of those who love the IP, like Harry Potter Land at Universal Studios. Even if you're not a Harry Potter fan, you can appreciate like the detail they did, how magical it looks. And to a Harry Potter fan, it's perfect. It's all stuff they recognize. Me and my mother had not seen Princess and the Frog going into this. And we actually saw like an old DVD on the bus. They were having like a bus company come out for like the weekend with the holiday, or maybe they just use them now. And we got to watch a little bit of the movie and it was like, oh my gosh, we were both like, this is so cute. So for anyone thinking that we're just a bunch of like people who hate Tiana, no, like I think the movie is very cute from what I've seen. But going in, you take a ride, let's take like Star Tours, for example. When you're going into a ride, a themed ride, you need like a presentation. It's like, okay, if you've never seen this before in your life, you have the bad guys. They're trying to steal something. They're trying to hurt the heroes, destroy the planet, whatever. Guardians. I have never seen any of the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I'm sorry. I apologize about that. But when I was on the Guardians ride, it was so easy to understand. These are our good guys. Bad guy wants to do evil things. It makes sense. This ride, I think we were trying to get like a plant or a spice or something for her restaurant that they didn't explain that much. I guess it kind of explains in the queue. but it was just so confusing. And like, then all of a sudden we get shrunk. I think it was not a very good effect to make it look like you were small. So this Mama Odie, I guess she has the power to make us small. So we're doing that. The second part's a little bit fuzzy, but I believe it broke down a little bit before we had this dead space. And when I say dead space, there was like a whole 10 seconds of this ride where there's just like nothing happening. There's a few animatronics here and there, but one thing we were really pointing out a lot was Tiana's not wearing her iconic dress. She's in like this safari outfit, and they could have done something because you see her like 3 or 4 times in this ride. One almost for each time it broke down. And she's wearing the same outfit up until the end. And when you finally see her at the end, she's wearing an outfit that once again is not from the movie. And it was shiny. I liked it. But, you know, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So we finally get to, after that really boring, not very well utilized passage of time, we finally get to it. And I'm about to experience that Splash Mountain-esque drop for the first time in my life. And I'm like, bring it on, baby. So we do it. And it was like, okay, wasn't as thrilling as I wanted to because of how lame the startup for it was. But, you know, at least the drop was fun. So we start going around and the ride stops. And I'm thinking, okay, because at this point, I'm just reflecting on the ride with my mom. It's like, okay, we're waiting to get off. And then I'm like, wait a minute. We're stuck again. Like, we're not at the end of the ride. I thought this was the end. And like, I'm looking back behind us, and I just see all these people and they're just making this face. Like, they look bored out of their minds. Like, it was awful. I will say that people, the 2 little girls and their mom stuff, they were having a ball. I don't want to say that no one had fun on this ride. They seemed like they enjoyed it. I assume they probably never rode Splash Mountain, but I'm trying to keep this, you know, away from just the Splash Mountain biases. So we finally, after like the longest wait, start moving again, and we go in the tunnel, and the ride finally, for the first time this whole ride, does something really cool. You see all these animatronics together. I didn't recognize, of course, all the characters from the movie. Yes, this right here. And it's so cute. It's whimsical. It's like, I want a whole ride of this. And that dress, even though it wasn't for the movie, it was shiny. They didn't overdo the screens in the background. It's like, okay, this is just like the movie. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'm being a little too harsh here. So we're turning around the corner, and we see Mama Odie one more time. But she broke too. And she's talking to you in the most creepy way ever. Instead of like moving around, she's literally like, hey kids, thank you for riding Tiana's Bayou adventure. Be sure to go to the gift shop. And it's just, her head's like slanted and her mouth is still moving. It's creepy. It's more like something out of Alien Romulus. Like, I did not like this. I felt bad for the kids.
Did Juju pop up?
What's that?
Did Juju pop up, the snake?
I guess, but so we go into the tunnel, and just for one more screw you, we were about to get off the ride, and in the dark area where the queue is, instead of a natural stop, it broke down again, and we were waiting again. It was awful. I don't think I've ever seen, outside of like those neglected themed rides, you know, like the Garfield Dark ride over in Knott's Berry Farm, when that thing was breaking down and like Garfield and Odie had like blacked out eyes due to lack of maintenance. But I have never seen a brand new ride as broken as this. And I know there has been some pushback where people, I remember there was a ride operator who quoted my tweet, and he said that, hey, I used to be a ride operator and these kind of things happen. That I understand. I rode Steel Vengeance at Cedar Fair the year it came out. And we got stuck on the left tail, and it was kind of hilarious. But 4 times, and the robot's breaking down, and it's going to creep out the kids. This is just such a poorly executed ride. And I truly believe that Tiana deserves better, because when you go and see rides like Guardians and Epcot, or for crying out loud, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, I felt like I was in a cartoon in that ride. Whether it should have replaced what was there before or not, that felt like a living cartoon that you could have fun with. The family, anyone could have fun. It shows just how far removed, in my opinion, the C-suite in California is from the Orlando park, because there was still some of that Disney magic there. I was surprised after everything I've been hearing how nice some of these cast members were, how polite so many people were there. I had a great time my visit. But this right here is the symbol of everything that's wrong with Disney right now. How these people in these suits are just so removed from the people working hard in these parks. And that's why I think Tiana's Bayou Adventure is such a disappointment.
Oh, man. You know, it's fascinating. When you stood in front of that sign, I don't think there's a better representation of just how creatively lazy this whole thing was done. If you actually look very close at the sign, there is no depth to that sign. It literally is printed on, which is a stark contrast of the hand-carved signage and sign work that used to be a staple at Splash Mountain, now replaced with very cookie-cutter signage, and that's just one very minute aspect of this entire attraction. Again, details matter, they add up, and unfortunately when those details aren't present, at least in the even in the large sums, like for example what Nolan was actually talking about with the last scene here, it's like every single scene should have been like this. And I actually happen to agree with that sentiment, and if every scene had been like that, maybe we would be looking at a completely different attraction with a completely different sentiment surrounding it. But unfortunately,
I you know, a lot of people have said, why don't they just mirror the story of Princess and the Frog? But because this takes place in a bayou where a mountain has raised up, I thought, you know, some very simple fixes to this ride would be that it is Dr. Facilier who shrinks you, who shrinks you down and builds this mountain up and puts this puts this obstacle in your way. So the whole idea, Tiana's looking for band members to play at this party. Now, if somehow they built this up as the grand opening of her, not like Tiana's Palace or, Tiana's Palace, the restaurant is opening Tiana's Foods. It's a big event. It's a big party for everybody. The whole town is invited. And Dr. Facilier stops it. Like, he wants to put a stop to this thing. And so then you have this whole tension story buildup, and he shrinks you down, and you're not going to be able to go. And then, on the lift hill, it's going up, and then you hear the, "Are you ready? Are you ready?" Mm-hmm. And then you go down, and then Mama Odie's at the bottom, and she's like, We've done it. We've got you back to the regular size, and everybody's going to the party, and you made it. And she reverses everything, right? Like, if you're going to have voodoo magic in the ride, maybe you don't mention that it's voodoo magic, but Mama Odie is good voodoo, right? But she's supposed to be, they don't call her that. So why not have Dr. Facilier and also not call it voodoo, but you have the, you have the dark side and you have the good side, and they're fighting against each other, and you have some kind of a tension buildup. And then when you get to that splash, there's something, they could, even though, we can't go back to Splash. I wish we could, but we can't. But if they're going to make that decision, then why wouldn't they, A, make sure whatever they're doing works all the time, and B, really put some real thought into the ride? And then maybe also, if you use Dr. Facilier, you don't need a salt mine queue that might have ties to some very serious pieces, that racist aspects. How do we say that on YouTube so it's okay?
Non-inclusive.
Well, yeah, but I agree with you, Ron. I think we all are on the same page. They could have done this with Dr. Facilier and not said anything about voodoo magic, but technically it is voodoo magic. But that's the thing. The Imagineers didn't want anything to do with voodoo magic, and they changed, Mama Odie to a fairy Bayou godmother. It's like, what? What the heck is that? There's so many things that they could have done to make this ride better, but they didn't. And now we're seeing the effects of it. And I think we're going to see the same thing when it comes to Disneyland.
Did you see it at night, Nolan?
Yes.
Did you see it from the outside at night?
I didn't get to see it at night, but I will say that I think it's hilarious, the fact that, they're avoiding the word voodoo like the plague. Meanwhile, I went to Universal Studios and went to a place called Voodoo Donuts. So I had that box of donuts at my stand every night at the hotel. So I'm like, yeah, good job, guys.
Yeah,
Well, it's all about
Well-
that inclusion key that they're so keen on. But I like a reply by mail here with the good enough key is going to be the sixth key there. It's so true. The good enough key. So many times, Bob, I know you've looked at the transcript of the dialogue as written in this attraction and how atrocious it is, and just how
I transcribed it myself. It was terrible. Oh, jeez. I mean,
they say the same thing like what 5, 6 dozen times.
Oh yeah, they repeat themselves so many times, and this, it's different version of the same thing over and over and over again, and it gets to the point where you're just like, okay, this is the dumbest, stupidest ride script story that I've ever read. I mean, couldn't they come up with something else for the characters to say and do? And it's minimal. I mean, the only characters that really talk though are Princess Tiana and Louis. That's it. You don't hear anyone else talk. No Nadine. And Mama Odie. That's it. Those are the three you hear talking. Other than that, nothing.
When Nolan, you ever been to a rainforest cafe?
Oh, yes, very long time ago, but I get the vibe.
So when you get shrunk down, I swear, when I saw that big giant frog with the red eyes, I'm thinking somebody in the back is going to say volcano, and they're going to bring out the big dessert. And I'm like, I'm in the rainforest cafe, man. And that's from the inside. That's actually way after Braden talked about it looking like Rainforest Cafe on the outside. Yeah. And I'm like, but the thing is, the reason I asked about it at night, this kind of has a cool, like almost haunted mystery vibe with the way they lit it from the outside at night. And it really, it like makes you feel like Dr. Facilier is there and he's not. And then they literally brought out the actor who played Dr. Facilier to help open the ride. And you're like, so confusing. Oh my gosh, it's so
that is completely agree with you, Ron, because I think I would agree the purple lighting they do at night is pretty cool looking. I'm a sucker for just changing the color of the light bulb, and I'll be all over that. I love lights, if you couldn't tell. But it's crazy though, because I remember, maybe this is just me being just not smart, but in this occasion, but I remember 4 years ago, when we went to Disney, Splash Mountain was shut down, and they hadn't announced at the time yet that it was going to become Tiana. I think it came back on sometime after our trip, but it was just really bad timing. And I remember I saw this, I'm like, talking to my mother, I'm like, wow, what is that? And she's like, that's Splash Mountain. I'm so sad it's down today. And then fast forward to modern day, being where I'm at now, we were going through, and I'm looking through some of the spots at the park, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's Tiana. Oh wait, no, that's like the mine train or something like that. What's that? And I'm like, oh, that's Tiana. It just blends into everything.
Yeah, it's not the same as it was.
Oh, that's
Flash.
So
Flash had that weenie, that Chickapin Hill weenie at the top. That was, you could okay, so when you turn the corner, if you're in the Magic Kingdom and you turn the corner into Liberty Square, and you look up and you can see, and it just drew your eyes right to it. And then you had Big Thunder over to the right. And I mean, sightlines used to be so important to Disney. Now, I know this is quoted all the time, like the sightline in Epcot, when you're looking over the land and you look at Morocco in Epcot, you don't notice, it's what you don't notice that matters, because when they built Hollywood Studios and they built the Tower of Terror, the backside of that showed up in Morocco. So the Imagineers made the backside of it look like a Moroccan building, so it would blend into Morocco in a different park. That's how important sightlines used to be to Imagineers. Where has that gone? Where? I guess it's gone to Universal, but
well, and that trend is going to continue here, Ron. That's the unfortunate thing. As Bob alluded to, it is expanding here in the West, opening November 15th, Tiana's Bayou Adventure at Disneyland. This is from Mice Chat's article that came out on Monday. Critter Country reopened on Friday after a nearly 2-month closure to accommodate some ground regrading and repaving, as well as ongoing construction surrounding Tiana's Bayou Adventure. The land's Critter Country name isn't long for this world. Even the spill in the Mark Twain Riverboat already refers to it as Bayou Country. The new name will debut alongside the opening of Tiana's Bayou Adventure in mid-November, but could be adopted sooner as the land opens in phases over the next couple of months. And you can see kind of the details here. They put up more. They put up more signage here to describe what it is, and not just Tiana's Foods, because everybody thinks it's a restaurant. Comically enough,
right? Well, look at that right there. It says Mardi Gras season. I was talking about this on my live stream on Sunday because I was there for the first time to go on Winnie the Pooh and to walk around this area that's been closed for a while. And I was telling my viewers, I'm like, look, they have to tell everyone what the ride's about because no one knows what the ride's about. So they're talking about, hey, celebrate, Mardi Gras season, at Prince Naveen and Princess Tiana's, place. But it's the fact that you have to put this up to explain the ride, it means that they have not done a good job of letting people know what this ride is all about. The other thing is, and I kind of thought this about the Walt Disney World version as well, but I'm there. It just opened on Friday in that area, the Pooh's area, and the Pooh's Corner opened back up. And I'm looking at the building, the yellow building for Tiana's, Bayou Adventure. And it looks like the sloppiest, worst paint job ever done. I understand it's supposed to be like weathered, but it just looks terrible in person. I mean, here it actually looks fairly decent in these pictures, but let me tell you.
Castro's camera there.
Well, yeah, and actually, can you scroll back up real quick? So that one picture right there, right above the window, there's some white in with the yellow, and it looks terrible the way it's blended. I mean, you're just like, what did they do? Why did they do this? And I know they're already destroying Splash Mountain for me, but the fact that they've taken this building, which looked so amazing before, and made it look worse. How do you do that? It just bothered me so much. And then, of course, you've got Pooh's Corner, which is cool. It looks like they're keeping that. Lewis's Critter Club is not open yet. Obviously, it'll open with a ride. But even that logo for Lewis's Critter Club just looks boring and stale and doesn't look exciting at all. So
yeah, let's look at that real fast because Critter Country has been closed for quite some time, at least at Disneyland. Obviously, they're retheming Hungry Bear
that looked good.
Restaurant. Hungry Bear Barbecue Jamboree. People are hoping for just a little bit more of the country bears to be added. Not just the mural right here. We'll have to see how that goes. But you can see right here they provided a new ramp up to Winnie the Pooh's entrance right there. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but stroller parking. Okay, well maybe I get that. But you were referring to the Critter Club here, which is really strange.
There it is.
To go away from Critter Country, even though we have critters in the actual attraction, we have now shops and stores and so forth in this land themed or named via Critter, but not using Critter Country. We're going to go in a different direction. That's a weird choice right there.
I mean, if they were going to go with Lewis's Critter Club, but they're changing it to Bayou Country, why didn't they just change to Lewis's Bayou Club or something like that? I don't know. Sounds just dumb, but
totally bizarre. Also, too, I think my shit actually mentions how it's like, okay, well, you have the Winnie the Pooh meet and greet characters. That's fine. But couldn't we have had like Tiana or Louie out here? I think that's also appropriate as well. If we're going to really lean into the Bayou Country theme, still kind of feels like Critter Country, at least to me. Also, too, the good enough key keeps coming up here. I scrolled past it here, but if we scroll right back up, let's see here, the ground coverage. There's like, what now, 3 or 4 different hardscaping or ground coverages now. And you see how they all converge right there. It's weird. It just looks rushed. It looks half done, looks half baked. We've been seeing this a lot. I guess there are some truck tires in the gravel there. That's supposed to be Tiana's food delivery truck. It's just, I don't know. I think much. It also too makes mention of the how much fake greenery there is on the actual mountain itself, and how well that's going to hold up in the, whether it be California or the Florida weather. We all have concerns about that. That is for sure. So
I saw a picture of Splash the other day where real greenery has, like grew on those levels of splash during the summertime, and it was beautiful.
Right.
It really looked nice, just enough to accent it, and it looks so much better than this plastic stuff that they have all over it now, that where I gave it the name Broccoli Mountain. It doesn't looks a little bit less like broccoli over in California than it does in Florida, I think. But
well,
yeah,
one of the reasons is too because they left some of the dead shrubbery there that died during this construction project when they had the water off for these live plant that used to be there on the terraces of Splash Mountain. So we'll have to see how this all looks, but not impressed so far, that's for sure. That was a highlight from our live stream on That Park Place Podcasts online, where the full stream can be found at the link in the description. But what about you? What were your thoughts on this particular story? Please let us know in the comments below. Like this video if you did like this video. Share us out, as it helps us out tremendously against the YouTube algorithm. And thank you so much for watching. T3, BO. Please comment, like, and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to That Park Place Podcasts online, your source for exclusive content and highlights from WDW Pro, The Pro Show, and That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.